The Yellow Lord was once a powerful Dwemer mage. He studied the arcane arts to learn how to live forever, without resorting to using necromancy. He believed that if that knowledge was held anywhere it would be in Apocrypha, and so began his service to Hermes Mara. Once he reached Apocrypha, however, he lost track of time. Era after era had passed, but he found himself consumed by the knowledge in Apocrypha. Eventually he was able to learn how to sever his soul from his body, and thus his brief reign as the Yellow Lord began. He simultaneously learned that his entire race had disappeared. This brought him back to his senses and compelled him to return to Nirn, escaping Apocrypha with all the knowledge he had accumulated, even though he still felt the pull of hidden truth calling to him. He managed to claim his own pocket of oblivion, and inconsequential plot of land he called Falbin, near the Lake Mumza. This slither of oblivion would hold his soul, preventing it from passing on. Once he returned, he found a savage people, living and thriving in the land he once called home. He subjugated them, with relative ease. Before his might they were utterly helpless. They thought him to be a god, and they treated him as such. In service to him they offered up the most worthy among them to become his vessel. His reign was devoid of the shackles of morality and law. All who served him knew absolute power and absolute bliss. Until 4176, when the Reachmen were driven off the land by Ulfric Stormcloak, the Jarl of Windham. The price of knowledge was steep. He lost his sanity before he returned to Nirn. Time, right and wrong, love, and peace, all sacrificed to obtain infinite knowledge and infinite power. The Yellow Lord has no sympathy for the mortal races of Tamriel. He is beyond the laws of the land, and beyond the judgment of its rulers. Even more so, once he has retrieved a fraction of the power he once held. Not bound by race, or greed, or family, he stands alone, an old god among new men. The Yellow Lord's goal is to obtain the power he lost in death, as this host body doesn't have the powers he held in the past. You should join the College of Winterhold to acquire spells and access to alchemy and enchanting stations, as well as the quest that will allow you to learn a word of the slow time shout, and of course the status of Archmage is befitting of your majesty. You should also head to Markarth and complete the Forsworn conspiracy, siding with the Forsworn, your people, who kept the faith for all these years. Side with the vampires in the Dawnguard questline, in order to obtain an immortal body for your current host, and the status of Lord of Castle Valkar. Use enchanting, to counteract the harmful effects of the sun. You will have to level alchemy, smithing, enchanting, illusion, destruction, sneak, and pickpocketing to 100 in order to use this build effectively. Alchemy will allow you to create smithing and enchanting potions in order to boost your ability to create powerful weapons. I recommend enchanting a weapon with Paralyze and Fiery Soul Trap. This weapon, along with a Black Soul Gem, will be reverse pickpocketed into your desired subject, who will then use it to kill your enemies under the authority of either a frenzy spell or the Bengal Shout. Once your subject is placed under your control, you should disappear with an invisibility potion and watch the show from a safe distance. Optionally, you can use your own staff of paralysis on targets from a distance, allowing your subject time to cut them down without taking any damage. This would also mean you could enchant your subject's weapon with something besides paralyze. Maybe absorb health, in addition to fiery soul trap. The subject you use do not have to be living ones. This is completely optional. But if your subject dies in service to you, and you happen to have leveled Conjuration to 100, feel free to bring your subject back to life with Dead Thrall. A Thrall's gear can also be upgraded as long as said gear is exactly the same as the one the Thrall wore while living. This opens up doors to making your subjects infinitely more useful even after death. But be wary of fast traveling with your dead Thrall. Sometimes they disappear on fast travel, meaning the weapons and armor you gave it will have disappeared with it. Every god needs a champion. The perfect candidate for the Yellow Lord's champion is Modanak, but if you don't have the mods to make him your follower, you could dead thrall him, but I would recommend you consider recruiting Marcurio, the Breton mage for hire in the Bianbar bin, located in Riften instead. He is not only proficient at casting spells, but if you recruit him he will be able to wear any armor you can create for him. You can also recruit the Dwarven Sphere or Spider from Togrumes on Soulskin, and use the ethereal staff you get from completing the Lost to the Ages quest to summon a Dwarven Sphere or Spider. Though unfortunately, you can't have a dead Thrall and a Dwarven summon simultaneously. You will always be able to turn a living enemy into your subject, however, so I suggest you only use your champion when there is no one else around or when you're going up against enemies that are too inefficient at disposing of one another. The Yellow Lord also uses creatures to do his bidding. One such creature is the Spider. The Mind Control Spider Scroll can be useful for controlling a singular target without spending any magicka. The Oil Spider combined with the Staff of Paralysis and a Fire Rune can turn your enemy into a bomb, ensuring you with an explosive victory. Just be sure to get out of the way of the oil first. The Poison Spider, combined with a Poison Rune, can dwindle down the health of your enemy while your subject finishes the job. The Guardian Stone you should use is of course Lord, only for role-playing purposes, as you will not be taking any damage if you utilize the full potential of this build. With that said, you also don't need to worry about investing in health or stamina, since you won't likely be taking any damage. I personally invested all points into magicka. When you come up against bosses such as Harkin and Mirak, I suggest you use Marked for Death, Slowed Time, and become ethereal to dwindle your opponent's armor down while you avoid taking any damage. When the time is right, you can launch a barrage of fire runes under the effects of the slow time shout without even giving your enemy's attacks a chance to reach you. I suggest making alteration potions before casting slow time, as this will extend the duration of the shout. You should do the quest to acquire the Black Star, so that you don't have to buy multiple Black Soul Gems every time you want to recharge your subject's weapon. I recommend you join the Thieves Guild and the Dark Brotherhood in order to assassinate the Emperor, but I recommend you join the Empire before that, in order to get Maven Blackbriar to become Jarl in Rift 10, effectively giving you, as listener of the Dark Brotherhood and master of the Thieves Guild, weight to your name all across the land. You should also gain the title of Thane in all 9 holds, allowing you to be dismissed of crimes in each hold with your title, and granting you a similar standing to the one you had before in the days of old. In accordance with your service to Herme Asmora, you should seek out the Black Books and acquire the knowledge within each of them, as well as the famous Ogma Infinium. Once your power is complete and Skyrim is conquered, it is up to you to decide how to govern the land. The Forsworn had begun to expand their raiding from Markarth to Whiterun, leaving nothing but death and destruction in their wake. And yet, they managed to single out a follower of Dibella and sacrifice her in front of the sleeping tree. Her eyes were covered. A single blue symbol was painted on her face. Her head adorned with flowers, and elk antlers protruded from her head. The Vigilants investigated the strange murder, believing that the priestess of Dibella was a sacrifice to a Daedra. They would find the Forsworn responsible for this sacrilege, and cleanse the land of their evil. Their hunt led them to Broken Tower Redoubt, where they believed the Forsworn were planning to sacrifice the Sibyl of Dibella. They launched a full frontal assault on the tower in broad daylight, cutting down their prey with the ferocity of the righteous. They managed to find the Sibyl alive, though she was blindfolded, with a crown of flowers atop her head. There's no doubt she would have been killed in the same manner as her senior, were it not for the Vigilants' arrival. After getting the Sibyl to safety, the remaining Vigilants and a priest of Arkay began a ritual to exorcise the tower of any lingering Daedric power, with the priest taking the lead. And then, he saw it. His name was stricken from history, lost in time. His followers reduced to savages, raiders of their own land. He lost all recognition. Until now. Now he has returned, wearing the flesh of another. The king of leeches, Lunjun and Dragon Tongue, the feaster of madness, the Yellow Lord. And this time, he will take his place as king.